Hey class, and welcome to lesson 11.5, three-dimensional figures. Let's take a look at our essential question that we're going to be answering throughout today's lesson, and that is, how can you identify, describe, and classify three-dimensional figures? Well, in order to find the answer to our essential question, let's begin by looking at our Unlock the Problem. So a solid figure has three dimensions: length, width, and height. I wonder if that should be important. Maybe I should underline it so that I can come back and take notes on that in my math journal later. So polyhedrons, such as prisms and pyramids, are three-dimensional figures with faces that are polygons. New vocabulary term. Make sure that we are recording that in our math journal. A prism is a polyhedron that has two congruent polygons as bases. A polyhedron's lateral faces are polygons that connect with the bases. The lateral faces of a prism are rectangles. So, as you can see, we have our base, and most prisms will have two bases, the top and the bottom, and then we have our lateral face. And just like it says, our lateral face makes a rectangle. So, identify the base shape of the prism. Use the terms in the box to correctly name the prism by its base shape. So, its base shape, which is going to be the top and the bottom that it would sit on. If we look at those base shapes and outline them, of course mine's not perfect, we will see that the base shape is going to be a rectangle. So in order to name the solid figure, we take our base shapes, which is the rectangular, and we identify it by what it is. It's a polyhedron that has two congruent polygons. So we have a congruent polygon here and a congruent polygon here. So it is a rectangular prism. Now, let's look at the next shape. Our next shape has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides for its base. So we know that 5-sided shapes are called pentagon. So its base shape is going to be a pentagon. And when we name the solid figure, based upon its base shape, it's going to be a pentagonal prism. Because it too has two congruent polygons as bases, one on the top and one on the bottom. So let's look at our next one. Our base shape is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We know that 6-sided shapes are called hexagons. And we have a hexagon for the top and a hexagon for the base. So we know that our solid figure is going to be a hexagonal prism. Now let's look at our next one, and this is going to be a little bit more difficult for me to outline, but if we look at our sides, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we know that an 8-sided figure is known as an octagon. And when we look at our prism, our base and our base are two congruent polygons. So therefore, it's going to be an octagonal prism. So what special prism has congruent squares for bases and lateral faces? What special prism has congruent squares for bases and for lateral faces? So that means on all sides it's all going to be congruent. And that would be a cube. So now let's take a look at our next shape. A pyramid, again, another term, and there's been a lot of new vocabulary entered in, so this should be being recorded in your math journals. A pyramid is a polyhedron with only one base. The lateral faces of a pyramid are triangles that meet at a common vertex. So like a prism, a pyramid is named for the shape of its base. So we're going to identify the base shape of the pyramid, and we are going to use the terms in the box to correctly name the pyramid by its base shape. Now remember, it says a pyramid is a polyhedron with only one base. If you look, they do all only have one base, and it all meets at a common vertex right up here. So let's look at our base shape for this pyramid. If we look at it, we notice that it forms a triangle. So our base shape is going to be triangle. So then using our base shape, that's going to be what names the solid figure. So we're going to then have a triangular pyramid. Okay, let's look at our next one. We have to look at our base shape, and if we look at our base shape, we can see that not all the sides are exactly the same length, but we have our right angles, so our base shape is going to be a rectangle. And we are going to remember that our base is what names our solid figure. So then we're going to have a rectangular pyramid. Okay. Our next one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. So our base shape is going to be a pentagon. And since our base is what names our pyramid, we are going to have a pentagonal pyramid. Now we're going to learn about some non-polyhedrons. Non-polyhedrons are some three-dimensional figures have curved surfaces. These solid figures are not polyhedrons, and they're not polyhedrons because they do not have polygons in their base or throughout them. And remember, it makes a polygon because it has to have a straight line. So let's look at a cone has one circular base and one curved surface. So it has the circular base and one curved surface. This is another vocabulary term you need to have recorded in your math journal. Another one is a cylinder, and a cylinder has two congruent circular bases, one here, and one curved surface. The next one is a sphere. A sphere has no bases and one curved surface. It's an entire curved surface. So we're going to use the Venn diagram to sort the three-dimensional figures listed at the left. So our non-polyhedrons is going to be our cones. It's going to be our cylinders. And it's going to be our spheres. So our polyhedrons then, we've got two choices, is going to be our prisms and our pyramids. Okay, well that's it for today's lesson. Just to make sure that you guys are going back and recording all of this vocabulary in your math journals. It's going to be highly important that you have that and that you're reviewing these terms on a daily basis when it comes time for our test at the end of chapter 11. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow.